Hi, I am Dr. MK. Welcome to the Introduction to Reactor Design. In this course, I plan to teach you the basics of reactor design in chemical engineering and show you how we can know and simulate a reactor for various reactions, and we will know how reactions takes place in the reactors. Chemical reaction engineering is at the heart of virtually every chemical process. It separates the chemical engineer from other engineers. Chemical reaction engineering is the field that studies the rates and mechanism of chemical reactions and the design of the reactors in which they take place. So, as you may know, the main difference between chemical engineering and other engineering is reactions and the science of producing materials from other materials and knowing the conditions and operating parameters and adjusting them to have a desired product. This is a core and the basics and the main subject of chemical engineering. Uh, in majority of cases, reactor do three things and provides residence time, transfer heat, agitates or mix phases. You may know that the residence time is the important factor in reactions. Some reactions are taking place very fast and some needs more time. Maybe a reaction needs 1 minute to be completed and reach equilibrium, and maybe it needs an hour or more. Another important factor affecting the performance of a reactor is how we transfer heat or we extract heat from the reaction. Some reactions producing heat and some needs heat. So we must configure the heat transfer properly to ensure that we have a good yield and high yield, and we have a we reach to equilibrium. Agitation and mixing the phases is another important factor. If the reactants do not react with each other, do not have a contraction with each other, we don't have any product. So with agitation, we will be sure that the products are uniform and we are in a high yield. The principal factor which must be considered in the design of the reactors are the phase involved. As I mentioned, we must know that which phase are reacting in the reactor. Do we have gases? Do we have liquids or even solids? Maybe the catalysts are solid parts of many reactions. And we must know what is the optimal temperature range for this reaction. If we do not operate at the optimal temperature range, the yield will be very low, and we have another limitation. We cannot increase the temperature as much as we want because the structure of the reactor and catalyst pellets will be destroyed at very high temperatures. So adjusting the temperature range is another important factor. And operating pressure. Some reactors are operating under vacuum and some other needs very high pressure. So adjusting the pressure and knowing the true pressure range is also important for having a reactor design. And as I mentioned before, residence time is another important factor that affect the reaction yield and the product ratio. Corrosiveness is also another important factor. If the reactants are corrosive, we need to use special materials for our reactor. And with these materials, we uh, will increase the design cost. Heat transfer and temperature control must be carefully be done because I mentioned that we need how to increase the yield and how to be in the safe zone of the reactor and catalyst pellets extractors. Agitation is also necessary for having uniformity in the uh, products and also in the temperature, and we must be sure that every place in the reactor has a similar performance, especially for the CSTR and batch reactors which have agitators. Batch or continuous operations is another distinction in the reactors. Some small scale industries use batch reactors without any input and output when the reaction is in the process. The reactants will go to the reaction zone and the doors will be closed until the reaction gets completed. And after that, we open the doors and extract the products. This is a batch reactor. But in continuous operations, like many large industries and petrochemistries and others, we don't have any closed volume. All reactants and product continuously comes in and go out. And this is another important factor. And finally, the production rate is an important factor because it is highly affect the economic of the process. If we don't have a high and suitable production rate, we may not be profitable and we may need to close the industry. So the production rate is very important, and also the product specifications. Okay, I think it is enough for this session. In the next session, I will introduce you the various reaction types and reactor types and teach you more basics. Don't forget to comment and also subscribe to my channel. Support us to provide more free courses. Thank you very much and see you. Goodbye.